Presidential pardons. Your exclusive oops, my bad button for federal crimes? The presidential pardon. It's a power baked right into the U.S. Constitution, allowing the president to forgive individuals for federal crimes. Think of it as a cosmic get-out-of-jail-free card. It's a sweeping power capable of wiping slates clean, restoring rights, and occasionally raising eyebrows. The president can grant a pardon at any time after a crime has been committed, even before charges are filed. More commonly, it happens after conviction, and sometimes even after a sentence has been served. The process can involve a review by the Department of Justice's Office of the Pardon Attorney, but the president isn't bound by their recommendation. This power is meant to be a tool for mercy, a way to correct injustices or recognize extraordinary rehabilitation. It's a powerful and often controversial instrument of executive authority. All right, let's talk about Todd and Julie Chrisley. You might recognize them from their reality TV show, Chrisley Knows Best. The show portrayed a wealthy, God-fearing Southern family with a patriarch, Todd, who micromanaged his family's lives. They lived in lavish homes, wore designer clothes, and generally gave off an air of effortless affluence. The Chrisleys were convicted in 2022 for defrauding Atlanta area banks out of $36 million in tax evasion. Todd was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison and Julie to 7 years.
Our defense involved a lot of denial and claims of being unfairly targeted.
Most conservatives and public figures, one hopes, managed to avoid defrauding banks out of tens of millions of dollars. President Donald Trump pardoned both Todd and Julie, stating they had received harsh treatment. After serving a fraction of their sentences, the Chrisleys were back home, reportedly already filming a new TV series. Because of course they are. Naturally, the Chrisleys' early exit from prison, courtesy of a presidential pardon, didn't go unnoticed. It stirred up a hornet's nest of opinions. On one side, you have the supporters of the pardon. President Trump felt their sentences were too severe. Their legal team leaned heavily into the narrative of being victims of an unjust system. The argument for the pardon essentially says, yes, they did it, but the system came down too hard on them.
The criticism was loud and clear. The sheer scale of their crimes, stealing over $30 million, is staggering. Reducing their sentences when their actual guilt wasn't contested seems illogical. The core of the criticism is that this looks like preferential treatment for the wealthy and famous. Critics argue that such pardons undermine public faith in the judicial system.
Section 4, Trump's Pardon Parade, a cavalcade of controversial clemency. The Chrisley pardons weren't an isolated incident during Donald Trump's presidency.
His use of the pardon power was often characterized by its unconventional choices.
It was less a quiet act of mercy and more like a series of grand, often surprising gestures.
This pattern led to widespread criticism that he was wielding this power as a system of rewards for allies.
Consider some other notable names from Trump's pardon list. There was former Connecticut Governor John Rowland, and political operatives like Roger Stone and Paul Manafort.
These were often high-profile figures whose pardons seemed to align with Trump's own political narratives.
It created a perception that loyalty might be a key criterion for clemency.
This pardon palooza raised serious questions about the principles underpinning this executive privilege.
Section 5, the Pardon Playbook. Are there any rules to this game?
Traditionally, the Department of Justice's Office of the Pardon Attorney has a set of criteria for evaluating petitions for clemency.
A key factor is often the extent of an individual's rehabilitation.
Another crucial element is remorse.
The nature and seriousness of the offense are also weighed.
Alice Marie Johnson, whose own commutation was championed by Kim Kardashian, has spoken about these criteria.
The problem, however, is that these are largely guidelines.
The president can pardon whomever he pleases for federal crimes.
This is where the system can look less like a deliberative process and more like an arbitrary exercise of power.
This selective application of traditional criteria is why such pardons ignite so much controversy.
Section 6, Eroding Trust. When pardons make justice look like a reality show. The fallout from controversial pardons extends far beyond the individuals themselves.
It strikes at the very heart of public trust in the justice system.
The perception is that justice isn't blind but is peeking out from under the blindfold.
Think about it. The entire legal system is built on the premise of equality under the law.
When presidential pardons appear to benefit a narrow, privileged slice of society, it chips away at that principle.
This isn't just abstract, it affects how people view law enforcement, the courts, and the government.
Moreover, such pardons can send a troubling message about the seriousness of certain crimes.
Does it inadvertently diminish its perceived severity compared to street-level offenses?
Because when the line between justice and a celebrity reality show becomes this blurry, we all have a problem.